Hey, this is Marlon from marlonmcpherson.com, and welcome to Future Steps Creative, the podcast that talks about online business strategies, especially around content marketing and website strategy. So if that's the sort of thing you're into, please feel free to subscribe if you're on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts, or if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel as well. So today I want to talk about the steps you need to take to create and launch an online business. So if you're on your journey like me, trying to build out a flexible lifestyle business where you can do the things you love and help people and just create the lifestyle and income that you want as a result of that, then hopefully this is going to help you work through the various steps that I think that you need to take. Now, before I actually work this out myself, I was kind of like winging it a lot by basically just trying to jump ahead and do things that I see other people doing. Maybe they're already at a very advanced stage to where I was at, but I didn't actually take that into account. I was kind of like looking at their successes and looking at how they do things, how they create content, what their websites look like, and what they had to offer. And I was like, okay, so I need to do these things then. But I was naive to the fact that it doesn't just work like that. You have to actually make sure you build out certain things in the foundation levels before you actually work your way up to that point. So, I mean, it's easy to fall into that trap of getting overwhelmed and feeling inadequate and feeling like, oh, I can't do this thing because we're not actually doing the right things, because there's so much free content. There's so many pieces of free content, and there's so many books and so many people sharing what they're doing that you probably don't know what steps to take things in order of. So I think this is going to be helpful in figuring out what to do at your stage now. First of all, even to figure out what stage you're at, and then to figure out the things that belong in that stage and what things you should actually be ignoring and, just leaving for now until you get to that point in time. So I've got a few things here listed out, and I'm going to go through it right here on my phone. I do have a checklist that I've put together. This is what I'm referencing right now to record this podcast episode. And you'll be able to grab that checklist if you head over to my website for free. You can access it via marlonmcpherson.com/start. So just head to marlonmcpherson.com and you'll be able to opt in and get access to this checklist, so you can reference it and see exactly what I've got written down here to guide you through the process. So I've got 4 phases, okay? 4 phases. Phase 1 is the preparation phase, which would be pretty obvious, right? This is where you start to put things together. So what I've got here is my order of what makes sense to me and based on my experience so far. So I say at stage 1 or phase 1 here in the preparation, you have a couple of things or 3 things here that I would say that you need to do. First of all, you need to decide who you help. And this is really about picking a niche and identifying a group of people within that niche that you want to concentrate on. Figure out who you want to help solve a particular problem and who you want to target. So this is going to actually help you do everything else from that point onwards. It's going to help you with figuring out, who you're speaking to so you can market better. If you're going to eventually, which you will be, if you're going to create products or services, it helps you to define what the scope of that product is and who it's actually directed at and how you're going to market it, because you know exactly who it's for. Once you've kind of picked that, you want to look at your positioning. This is about your brand. You need to decide how you differ from everyone else. What's your USP? What's your unique selling point? And you want to also hone in on your brand message. You need to figure that out. Figure out what your communication style is going to be, as well as figure out how you want to approach, what kind of message you want to send out there into the marketplace. How do you want people to perceive you? And then the third thing at the phase 1, is to actually start interacting. So you want to get out there and speak to real people. uh, when you do branding or you do sort of like brand profiles, people tend to say, okay, do um, these avatars of your ideal audience, your customer, your potential customer, or your potential client. This is just based on you. I mean, you can do that as a starting point and just use empathy if you haven't actually been interacting with these types of people. But ideally, what you want to do is actually talk to people who you're targeting, and even get them on the phone or use social media, do DMs, do your direct messaging through Instagram or whatever you use, Facebook, and just be there and try and talk to people and figure out what it is they're struggling with. And if you put yourself forward and say, look, I'm trying to figure this out so I can help people like you and so on, just be honest about it. It will really open up your eyes as to what these people's stories are and what is it that's driving them? What's the motivation behind what they're trying to do? Because normally when you're trying to accomplish a task or a particular thing, that's not the actual real thing you're trying to get to. There's something else underlying that's a bigger goal that they're trying to get to. So if you can understand that, it puts you light years ahead of everyone else who's just trying to guess. So ways you can do that: you can jump into social media groups on Facebook, and you can jump into YouTube comments, on other people's platforms where there's an audience already there of the type of people that you want to actually interact with. So this is a really, really big thing, because before you make that bigger step by going ahead to start committing to content creation, or even going as far as to creating a product or a service, it really helps to know from early on whether or not you're on the right track by talking to these people. Phase 2 is about audience building. And this is something that I strongly believe that needs to come before you can go in there and make it easy for yourself to successfully launch a product or a service. I'm guilty of not doing this. I've actually put things out in the marketplace before without actually giving value in the sense that I create content. And I've had, flops, and I've had to go back to the drawing board and figure out, okay, this is why this didn't work. It's because I don't really, even though my product or my thing might be good or better than other people's, because they have content and they have established themselves as an authority within that space. People know them, people trust them because they can see them delivering value to them all the time, and they're going to buy from them. So it's really important to start creating content at that point. So what I would say is to pick a platform. You can pick one or two platforms, but if you want to make things easy for yourself, just pick one platform that makes sense for you and also makes sense for your audience, so that you can then basically you can make it easy to actually create the content. So for example, for me, I do videos and I do this podcast. So I do YouTube videos and I do the podcast, and then those actually end up being a post on my website as well. Even though it's not an extensive blog post, the show notes and so on from the podcast goes onto my site as a post. So I'm actually tripling up with the content. I'm doing the podcast format here as an audio podcast, but it's also a video podcast that I post to YouTube. And I do tutorial videos and sort of like helpful videos that are dedicated videos on my YouTube channel. So I'm a strong believer in video. Video is, if you can start there, that's a really, really great starting point, because you can start syndicating your content, meaning that you can filter out, you can start with a video, then from that video, you can extract the audio, turn it into a podcast, audio only podcast, and submit that as a podcast, or publish rather. And you can also then turn that piece of content into a blog post. So if you can do all three of these things and combine it like that, then great. But don't overwhelm yourself with everything like that at first. Start with a piece of content that best suits your workflow and what you're able to do if you're doing your own content, which you should really be doing your own content, at least if you're trying to build your own brand at the start. Do what comes natural to you, but also do what is going to resonate best with your audience and reach them best. So if they're watching videos and what you actually are trying to share is better in a video, then do videos. If you feel like, okay, you want to talk, and you love talking and talk too much sometimes, like I do, then maybe you need to do a podcast, and then you can kind of not feel like it's a drag having to write content if you're not a writer. Some people just love writing and they don't want to be in front of a camera, or they don't like to hear their voice. I don't like the sound of my voice as well, but it's just something you just got to overcome and know that, you know what, it's not about you, it's about what you're trying to accomplish by helping people. And that's how I look at it. So let's see here. I've actually covered that. So the picking off the platform is one thing, but I missed out the strategy. So before you even pick the platform, figure out a strategy. Put together a list of ideas for content you can create that helps you target the audience that you're after and helps you problem solve. So you want to list out these pieces of these ideas for content that you can make based around research that you can do, or just the interactions that you've had previously by talking to these people. And by that point, you would have a list that you can continue to add to over time, and then you can just create a piece of content that you feel like is going to be most relevant at that point in time. So you want to consistently publish, and that's the way you're going to manage it, having a content calendar and a list to pull from of ideas and so on. And the third thing that I'm going to say, this is really important as well, is to build an email list or start an email list and continue to build that by just sending people to sign up. You don't even need to have a website to start an email list. You can sign up for one of the free platforms. MailChimp is really popular. I use MailerLite right now primarily, but I also have MailChimp. And if you have a certain number of subscribers or below a certain number, it actually isn't, it's free. So I know that MailerLite has landing pages that you can build with the opt-in form where you can send people to. It's a little bit tricky because you can't get your own URL. Possibly you might be able to, but if you don't have a website or your own domain name, which is your whatevername.com, then you can just have a temporary page that you send people to just to opt in, and then you can send emails out to them and continue to nurture them, continue to deliver value. It's not there for you to be spammy and to be overly salesy or anything like that, but you want to give, and eventually, ever so often, people will want to reciprocate. So if you need a favor, if you need them to take a survey, if you need them to buy an affiliate product that you might want to promote, maybe you're using a particular product and you love it so much, you've become an affiliate where they give you a percentage of sales, and you want to say, hey, you know what, I'm doing this piece of content because I want to share this new thing that I'm using and share how great it is and give your honest opinion, and just ask people to use the affiliate link. Yeah. So ask people to use the affiliate link, and you could do that directly in your content, or you could send it out as an email to your subscribers. So you really need to have your email list because, it's beneficial in that sense. But the main reason is, for me anyway, is because that's something that you own and control. Whereas on social media, you can get kicked off of Instagram or Facebook or YouTube at any given point, and it could be a mistake. Sometimes their systems mess up. I've heard of people being kicked off where they've had like hundreds of or thousands of subscribers, or even over 1 million subscribers, and their YouTube channel just disappears and they didn't get it back. They had to just start from scratch. But luckily, they had other social media platforms that they had a following on, and they were able to obviously get people to come back across. But obviously, if they weren't backing up their videos, if they had all their videos on YouTube, they would have had to recreate every single piece of content to rebuild, and even if people are on another platform, not everyone's going to come across and follow you again. But let's say you just rely on Instagram or you rely on Facebook and you don't have an email list, or they change their algorithm, their systems, and their policies, and it negatively affects you. Guess what? You're out in the cold because it's a free platform. They're there to sell advertising. They're not there to appease you. They want you to be there, so obviously you can bring in eyeballs to them, but they make their money through advertising. So you want to make sure you have your own piece of real estate, which is your email list. So phase 3, let's jump into phase 3. That's the implementation phase. This is where one of the first things I'm going to say is to build your website. So this is the prime piece of real estate here. I think of the website as your home base. This is the thing that you truly own. as long as you're paying for it, your website will be up and running all the time. People can access it and know that this is officially where they can find whatever information, and you can have it laid out in a way that best suits your audience and best suits your business or your brand or your organization. So having that website means that you can actually provide the experience in the way that you want on your platform, rather than just going through the limitations of whichever platform, social media wise, that you're on. So with this, I would say that this is the backbone of your infrastructure, because it's going to allow you to capture leads. It's going to allow you to sell products. It's also going to be able to have you're going to be able to publish content on there as well. So if you want to do a blog, obviously you do that on your website. And you can even you can even embed your videos from YouTube or from other platforms, content from other platforms that you're publishing on your website. So this is your home base. So it's really important to get that right and to make sure that you go into that with the right strategy. Once you're at it, you want to do your visual branding as well. Even though this isn't necessary, you can launch your brand, your business, without having a visual brand per se. But it's really useful to stand out in that way if you can get your visual branding done. And I'm going to recommend that highly recommend actually, that you work with a professional who specializes in visual branding to help you pick out colors, typography or fonts, do a logo, do your any illustrations or anything else as a brand asset that you want to use to represent you. And the reason why I say use a professional, you could try and do this yourself if you've got design experience and if you understand the technicalities behind doing branding. And well, especially a logo. A logo isn't just any random piece of artwork or any random graphic that you think that looks cool. It serves a particular purpose, and it has to be technically sound to serve the purpose to be used in all kinds of platforms, such as a small, in a small way on your website or an icon app, to it being blown up on a billboard or being put on, some kind of printed material. So making sure that everything is consistent across the board and uniformed is really important to form a nice cohesive system for your brand. And then you can use that across all your touch points, your social media, etc. Let's see here. So after you've done all that, you can set up your marketing and product funnels. So at this point, you want to create and add any products to your website and plan sequences for conversions. So these are basically sales funnels. You also want to intentionally do your content marketing, and your email strategy needs to be in place so you can create leads and bring them through your funnel. So you need to be able to do this by just setting up a sequence of emails. So you'd have multiple sequences that go out automatically when people subscribe to you or when they subscribe to a particular thing on your website. You want to make sure you have all these emails tailored to guide people through the process to the end point of what you want to get done. This could be to buy a product, or this could be to sign up for something, or this could be to just take a next step. That might not necessarily be a paid thing. Whatever your objective is, then you need to make sure these are sequenced out properly to help you achieve this. And in phase 4, this is where you've got everything in place and you can finally launch your website to the world and just get some momentum behind you. Now, launching could be as big as, you're just having this massive event around it and you just create a big, draw attention to it. Or you could just launch quietly and just steadily try and get the word out and grow from there. However you do it, a launch is a launch. As long as you're live to the world, it just means that you're open for business. You're open for business and you can go ahead and start looking at things, monitoring and seeing what works, what doesn't work. You ramp up your marketing, and you can ramp up your marketing with your content by either doing more frequent content or doing better quality content, and just looking at what works. Doing promotional activities on social media to drive traffic to your content as well is another way to boost it. You don't want to necessarily sell and drive people directly to products or services, but you want to drive people to your content, and then once you've delivered that value, you can go ahead and start selling. The next step after you've figured out things and you've realized that, okay, certain things are working, you want to, just double down on these things that's working and maybe not so much on the things that aren't working. It's always an ongoing process of testing and tweaking. And once you've gotten to that sweet spot, just leave it as it is, unless there's something major that you need to change for whatever reason, maybe your goal or something changes. That's business for you. It's dynamic. The next step is basically up to you. You can decide to scale your business by, hiring people and making it into a big operation, or you might just want to scale through doing more content and keep things small in terms of the operation. But, you can leverage the power of digital products, which is what I'm a big advocate of. Physical products are nice and everything, but at the end of the day, nothing beats out digital products that you create a product one time and you just have to update it periodically, but it sells itself over and over and over and over again, even when you're sleeping. Sometimes I wake up to my PayPal account, I've got a sale of something on one of my websites. And, it's a good feeling when you get that sale, especially that first one. And it just keeps you going. It keeps you motivated. You don't have to necessarily go and package products and ship it off or go to the post office or whatever you need to do. So that's why I'm a big fan of digital products. And that's really a great way to scale without necessarily having to keep stocks and have a big operation. Not everyone wants to do that. I want to build a flexible lifestyle business. And I'm trying to get away from the whole being boxed into a situation and feeling like I'm beholding to what I'm doing. And that's the whole point of me talking about flexibility with lifestyle and income. So I hope this has been helpful. Maybe you didn't really know what the right order is. That's my right order. Doesn't mean that it's 100% correct for everything or for everyone. But from someone that's been doing it the wrong way for a little while and then have kind of gotten some help with some mentorship and some guidance, I've put together this so you don't have to go through this. So go ahead and check it out on marlonmcpherson.com/start. And that's it for this episode. I will be making sure I'm not slacking on these episodes anymore. I have been busy. I've been putting together a new service, a new web design and strategy service. And I've been putting the behind the scenes stuff together to make sure that I'm ready. And I'm going to start my marketing for that. And that being said, I will be having a lot more content coming out around website strategy and website production, because that's really one of my strong points. That's something that I've been doing for years, build my own websites. And I have been doing that for over 5 years. I've built client sites in the past, and it's just something that I feel like, okay, I have a lot of value to give because I'm always doing stuff to do with my websites. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, if you're looking to build a website, do check out marlonmcpherson.com, check out the service on there, and do reach out to me. I'm open for business as far as that's concerned, and I will be able to help out. So I'll speak to you soon. If you've got any questions or comments, leave them in the YouTube description, or you can email me across on the website. Thank you. Have a great week. Take care.